The monad is the unified field behind consciousness, the source point where nothing is separate, nothing is missing, and everything is already connected before you even think it. Every thought you have, every intention you set, every desire that rises in you, it all comes from this field first. Your awareness interacts with it constantly, even when you're completely unaware of the connection. When you align with the monad on purpose, your manifestation stops being a request and becomes a command of resonance. You're calling from the very field everything responds to. This is what people accidentally stumble into during their most powerful moments, and what they lose just as quickly because they don't know how they accessed it in the first place. And there is a way to access it deliberately, a way the archonic distortions absolutely. I have some news for you. You've been manifesting wrong all this time. You've been taught to manifest in a certain way, but that formula was never meant to work. People keep asking reality for change, asking for clarity, for movement, for signs, and yet nothing shifts. Not because the universe is ignoring you, but because you've been doing it wrong all this time. But don't worry,
Welcome
because
in,
there's
welcome
something
in.
called the monad calling, a way of manifesting that actually
This
works.
video is
And
on
the
the
Archons
things we're
hate it.
doing wrong on
And that brings us
manifestation.
into something most people never even knew existed.
It's all purposeful and it's all necessary.
The monad is the unified field behind consciousness, the source point where nothing is separate, nothing is missing, and everything is already connected before you
Welcome in,
even
guys.
think
Welcome
it.
in.
Every thought you have, every intention you set, every desire that rises in you, it all comes from this field first. Your awareness interacts with it constantly, even when you're completely unaware of the connection. When you align with the monad on purpose, your manifestation stops being a request and becomes a command of resonance. You're calling from the very field everything responds to. This is what people accidentally stumble into during their most powerful moments, and what they lose just as quickly because they don't know how they accessed it in the first place. And there is a way to access it deliberately, a way the archonic distortions absolutely hate because it cuts right through
And
fear,
they sincerely hate this.
urgency, and doubt in a single move. It's called the monad call. But before you understand how it works, you need to understand something else that you've probably been asking by now.
How you doing, Brick?
Archons aren't shadows lurking in another dimension. They're far closer than that, and far more disruptive. They're the internal distortions that pull you away from the monad, the fear that tightens your decisions, the urgency that makes you rush, the doubt that blinds your clarity, the mental noise that scatters your focus. These patterns don't attack you from the outside, they work from within, subtly bending your awareness until you forget where your real power sits.
You have to pay attention to this when this happens. This is how you basically fold, the universes so you can collapse them into getting to your best version of yourself. When you focus on these things, it helps. It sincerely does.
Think of them as the forces that keep your consciousness fragmented. Every time you spiral into overthinking, every time you feel pressured
Are
to
you doing great?
figure everything out right now, every time you seek answers outside yourself because you don't trust your own perception, that's an archonic pull. They weaken the internal signal you send into reality, not by blocking your manifestation, but by distorting the intention before it even reaches the inner field. People think their manifestations aren't working because the universe is slow, but often the intention
Trust the
is simply
process.
not clean. Chaos isn't your enemy. It's the echo of a mind that forgot its center. Archonic patterns feed off this chaos. They keep you reactive, overstimulated,
Song?
constantly chasing something just out of reach. They want your awareness scattered because scattered awareness cannot align with the inner field. And when you're disconnected from the monad, your desires lose their magnetism. But once you recognize these patterns for what they are, distortions, not truth, you step outside their influence. You finally see that nothing ever stood between you and the field of creation, except the noise that pretended to be your voice. The monad call works because it's not something mystical that happens on its own. It's something you perform when you choose to shift your state. It becomes effortless once you understand that you can't connect to the monad while you're tangled in the illusions that distort your energy. When you're spiritually awake enough to recognize those distortions, the technique becomes incredibly clear. And if it feels easier to approach it in steps, here's the hidden structure behind the monad call. Even though the experience itself is smooth and simple, you start by catching the illusion, deliberately noticing the fear, the urgency, or the doubt that tries to pull you into fragmentation. Calling it out is what opens the doorway. This is the moment you begin the technique. From there, you move into dropping into certainty, shifting into the state you would naturally embody if the outcome was already yours. You breathe differently, you think differently, and your energy aligns with that
Olivia.
version of yourself as if it has already happened. Once that state settles, you ease into the stillness, that quiet, inner steadiness where you're not chasing the result or forcing anything into place. This stillness is what allows the inner field to register a clean, undistorted signal, a signal built on inner knowing rather than need. And then you finish with detachment, not by abandoning the desire, but by releasing the pressure around it. You hold the energy of completion without gripping it, letting it exist as something real, rather than something you're desperately trying to reach. But that's not everything, because as soon as you attempt this, something unexpected will start to happen. Every time you get close to truth, chaos tries to block the signal. The moment you start moving toward real alignment, not the surface level kind, not the fake calm you force yourself into, but true inner coherence, something
Welcome in, guys.
strange
Welcome in.
always happens. The mind suddenly becomes louder. Thoughts that weren't bothering you all day suddenly rush in like a storm. You feel restless. You feel distracted. You question yourself. You doubt whether any of this even works. And
I
it feels
appreciate
almost
the love,
personal,
sincerely.
like
I
something
appreciate the
inside
love.
you is trying to pull you away from a moment of clarity you were about to step into. This isn't a coincidence. This is the archonic resistance mechanism in full force. They are the distortions inside your own mental field, the fear loops that randomly spike out of nowhere, the panic triggers that appear right when you start feeling confident, the old doubts that whisper the same lines you thought you left behind years ago. These patterns don't activate when
I
you're drifting
appreciate
through
you.
life unconsciously.
I
They
can't see who's
activate
doing it, but
when you
I
get close
appreciate you,
to breaking
sincerely.
their influence entirely. When you approach the monad call, these distortions flare up because the inner field dissolves everything they depend on. The monad is coherence. The archons are fragmentation. So, of course, they'll resist the moment you start stepping out of their territory. This is why people feel anxious right before a breakthrough, why they get tired just as they're about to meditate.
We have to realize that these are all good signs. Like, especially when you're in stillness and it's nothing but quiet around you. Like we almost mistake the quietness for disalignment, but in truth, it's actually you're on the right path. You just have to be patient. You have to trust the process. We all do.
Why their mind suddenly becomes chaotic the second they choose to align. The resistance
I
is not
appreciate you,
proof that you're
Samuel.
doing something wrong.
Sincerely. I love that.
It's
I
proof
love that.
that
I
you're
love you,
finally
and I
touching the
appreciate you.
right
And God
frequency.
is going to bless both of us. Know
And
that
this is the part most people never realize.
consistently.
The resistance is the signal, not the obstacle. The noise that shows up right when you try to center yourself is actually the doorway revealing itself.
I love you guys, man.
When
If
you
nobody told you
recognize
that
this
today, know
pattern,
you are loved.
everything shifts. Instead of getting frustrated or thinking you're failing, you start to
I
understand
love you.
what's really happening. Your
I do.
mind is fighting because it feels you leaving its old
And it feels
architecture.
good to know you're
And the
speaking
moment you
truth when
stop
you can say
taking that
that to
resistance
somebody you don't even
personally,
know.
the doorway opens wider.
I love the new me.
This is how you know you're close. When the noise peaks, you're inches away from stepping into the field that makes the monad call possible.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's a common trap almost everyone falls into when they try to manifest from alignment. They stop asking, they stop begging, they stop obsessing,
Yes.
and they think that alone means they've entered a higher state. But what most people don't see is that they're still operating from the same internal lack. It's just quieter now.
It's
The
all inside.
desperation is still there, but
Your
it has learned to
manifestations,
whisper
you
instead
align
of
with them
scream.
when you become them.
A lot of people call this trusting the process or being patient. But if you actually sit with their emotional energy, there's still tension underneath. They're waiting for signs.
Right.
They're checking the
Stop
timing.
waiting for signs.
They're watching for progress.
Stop waiting for
They're monitoring
synchronicities.
the universe
You have to
as if they're afraid
understand
it might forget
that
about them
when you
if
get
they
to a
stop
certain
paying
point on
attention.
your journey,
And that's not a
you become the manifestation itself. You are the sign. And when you can understand that it's not the signs that you're looking for, it's you. It's always been you. You have to understand that you'll only be ready to receive your abundance, your blessings, when you're ready, when you know that it's already yours.
alignment, that's survival mode, wearing spiritual clothing. Here's the twist that most people don't want to admit. If you're still checking to see if it's working, then it's not the monad call. The monad call doesn't leave any inner tightness behind. It doesn't create
Can
a
you not hear the
countdown in
video?
your mind. It doesn't make you wonder when things will show up. When you enter the inner field, the desire no longer feels distant. It no longer feels like something you're trying to reach. There's no subtle hoping, no waiting, no emotional negotiation. Everything becomes incredibly still, the kind of stillness that feels full rather than empty. This is where a lot of viewers will realize something important.
Hold on
They
a
haven't
second.
been still, they've just been quietly begging. And that's okay, because between acting aligned and being aligned. Awareness alone is powerful here. When people realize the truth of their internal state,
Can you hear
it
the video?
softens the illusion and makes them more receptive to the next step. They become curious again, open again, ready to understand the technique in a way they couldn't access before. Because now they're not just listening, they're ready. One of the most encouraging parts of the monad call is that you don't have to guess whether it's working. The moment alignment begins, your reality starts shifting in ways that are subtle, unmistakable, and impossible to
I
manufacture.
appreciate the new
You
subscribers,
feel the
sincerely,
old
sincerely.
structures inside you loosening. Patterns you once thought were permanent begin dissolving without the usual struggle. Things that used to trigger you
I've never heard of
suddenly
him, but I'll have to
feel
check him out. Dr.
irrelevant.
David Jeremiah.
The emotional charge fades,
What does he
not
speak on?
because you forced yourself to be stronger, but because your internal landscape is being rewritten from a deeper layer of awareness.
I
And
appreciate
then
you.
there are the echoes, the
Well, what
synchronicities
does he
that
touch
show
on
up
exactly,
when the mind
Dr. David Jeremiah? I'll write that down. I'll check him out.
has stopped screaming and the field can finally answer. You'll notice repeating signs, aligned timing, strange coincidences that follow your thoughts like they're tracing your steps. People show up at the right moment, opportunities appear without effort, and your days start feeling arranged rather than chaotic.
Right.
These aren't random. They're reflections of the inner field, adjusting your outer world to match your inner coherence.
It's all really quantum
When the field
manifestation. It's quantum
stabilizes,
physics, guys.
reality reorganizes itself around you. Something else happens.
The schools should have been teaching us universal law and hermetic laws and what's really going to get you to where you need to go in life. And that's not a coincidence that the curriculum has stayed the same since it started. Like they do this on purpose, especially if you send your children or yourself went to public schools. This is happening purposely. And when you don't when we don't teach our children exactly what they need to know. Now, I mean, purposeful things that's going to excel them in life. Yeah, guys, I might have to go grab a charger real fast. But sincerely, this is real. Just listen.
Two, a kind of emotional neutrality that feels different from apathy. You stop obsessing. You stop refreshing the timeline of your life, wondering when things will arrive. You stop gripping so tightly to the outcome because at a deep level, you don't feel like you're missing anything anymore. It's not emotional numbness, it's spaciousness. It's the feeling of finally being in the right position internally,
Oh yeah, yeah,
where the
yeah,
wanting
definitely,
doesn't hurt anymore.
definitely.
Neutrality isn't a lack of desire,
People are just
it's the
not perceiving it
absence
yet.
of desperation.
Like if you
These
know,
are
you
not
know.
small hints.
If you're
They're
doing the work
evidence that the inner
inside,
field is beginning to stabilize your energy in a new configuration. They show that the call has
if you're
already
doing the
started
work
moving
within,
through your field,
excuse me, if you're doing the
adjusting
work
what no
within,
longer
you
fits
know
and
that Christ is already
amplifying what
here.
aligns.
These times,
And once
everything
this
that's happening in this
rearrangement
world is
begins,
happening right now
the
because
momentum
the Lord
becomes
literally built it.
undeniable.
It has to be doing the construction. We have to tear it down in order to rebuild it new. It's just
Spiritual urgency is one of the most
balance.
deceptive traps on the path. It feels like
Find balance.
motivation. It feels like devotion. It feels like you're committed to evolving faster than ever. But underneath that pressure is a very different force. The archonic distortion that convinces you you're running out of time. The moment you start feeling like you must ascend now, heal now, manifest now, you've already left the monad's frequency. Urgency collapses awareness into fear, and fear fractures the field. People don't realize how often they fall into this trap. They meditate harder, manifest harder, push themselves to wake up faster, thinking this pressure is a sign of dedication. But urgency doesn't come from spirit, it comes from panic dressed as purpose. It's the inner weapon the Archons use to exhaust you, distract you, and keep you looping in cycles of burnout. When urgency takes over, you're no longer moving toward alignment. You're running away from the fear of stagnation. And this keeps you out of the monad, because the inner field cannot be reached through force. The truth is, the inner field works in stillness, not in laziness, not in passivity, but in the kind of inner stillness where your energy isn't being dragged forward by fear. Stillness is where clarity forms. Stillness is where resonance becomes strong enough to influence reality. Stillness is where the intention becomes clean, precise, and powerful. When you're rushing, your inner field is scattered. When you're still, it becomes magnetic. It pulls effortlessly because its nature is coherence, not force. When your consciousness matches that coherence, manifestation feels like a natural extension of your awareness rather than a battle you have to fight. So the next time that pressure rises inside you, the next time you feel the need to hurry up and awaken, recognize what's really happening. Urgency is not your intuition pushing you forward. It's the distortion trying to drag you off the path. Human awareness operates in two very different modes, and most people never realize which one they're living from. The first is the fragmented identity, the version of you that reacts before it understands, that gets pulled by thoughts before it chooses, that lives with its attention constantly leaking outward into noise, pressure, and distraction. In this mode, your awareness is shaped by whatever happens around you. Your emotional state jumps from trigger to trigger. Your clarity depends on circumstances. And your sense of self becomes scattered across 100 different thoughts that don't even belong to you. It's the mode where
Hello,
What's your name?
I name it Laura.
Do you mean my name is Laura?
Yes.
awareness is shaped by whatever happens around you. Your emotional state jumps from trigger to trigger. Your clarity depends on circumstances. And your sense of self becomes scattered across 100 different thoughts
Greatly appreciate
that
it,
don't
brother,
even
man. You have a
belong to
beautiful
you.
day, all right? I'll see you later.
It's the mode where life feels like something happening to you rather than through you. Then there's the unified identity, the version of you that isn't ruled by reactivity, but anchored in presence. This mode feels fundamentally different, not because your life changes instantly, but because your relationship to your experiences shifts entirely. You're centered instead of scattered. You're observing instead of absorbing. You're responding instead of reacting. And most importantly, you're aware of the subtle space inside yourself where your true intention forms, the space that isn't tied to fear, timelines, or expectations. In this unified mode, the world doesn't feel overwhelming anymore. It feels navigable. It feels like something you can collaborate with rather than survive. Fragmentation is loud. Unification is steady. Fragmentation collapses your awareness into overthinking and self-doubt. Unification expands your awareness into clarity and inner authority. And the inner field can only interface with one of these. The fragmented identity cannot reach the monad because it does not operate from coherence, it operates from emotional turbulence. When your awareness is pulled in 10 different directions, there's no stable signal for the inner field to resonate with. But the
You have to focus on one thing at a time. And that's how you get the best results throughout your manifestations. Like, it's not about what you think about consistently. No, it is, excuse me. It's about what you think about consistently. It's not about what you think about. It's not the random thoughts. It's about what you focus on the most. That's what's going to happen and shift into your reality. Sincerely.
unified identity is different. It's the state where your thoughts, emotions, and intention are finally moving in the same direction instead of fighting each other. It's where your inner field becomes strong enough for the inner field to reflect back into reality. This is why some people manifest effortlessly during certain moments of their lives and struggle miserably during others. It's not luck, it's the mode of awareness they were in. When you stand in the unified mode, the inner field hears you clearly. Everyone reports it, but no one knows what it means until it's too late. There's a moment, subtle for some, overwhelming for others, that happens right before the shift into the inner field alignment. People describe it in different ways, but the underlying sensation is always the same. It feels like you're awakening for the second time. Not in a dramatic, cinematic way, but in a quiet realization that something inside you is rearranging. You begin to sense patterns you never noticed. You catch illusions you once walked through blindly. You start seeing your reactions, your doubts, and your impulses with a clarity that almost startles you. It's like watching your old self from the outside and realizing you were dreaming with your eyes open. This pre-shift moment can feel strange because it doesn't announce itself. There's no grand revelation, no clear sign. Instead, there's a subtle but unmistakable recognition. I'm not thinking the same way anymore. You start noticing the difference between your true awareness and the patterns that used to control it. You see the fear without merging into it. You see the doubt without believing it. You see the urgency without obeying it. And this ability to see the illusion is the very thing that loosens its hold. That's why
exactly
so
how you
many
become
people
the
say it
observer
feels like a second awakening,
instead of
because
the
it is.
absorber.
The first awakening is realizing the world isn't what you thought. The second awakening is realizing you aren't what you thought. And once you reach this stage, you're not just spiritually aware, you're spiritually prepared. You're standing at the threshold where the monad call becomes possible, not because you've mastered anything, but because you've finally stepped out of the fog that made you forget who you were in the first place. This is the moment when the shift is right on the edge. The illusions lose their weight. The noise loses its authority. And your awareness begins to move in a cleaner, quieter direction, not upward, but inward. That single shift of perception is what signals to the inner field that you're ready. Ready to create differently. Ready to perceive differently. Ready to call from the level where manifestation doesn't require effort, only alignment.
Only alignment.
Once you feel this pre-shift sensation, even lightly, it's the clearest sign you're standing right where you need to be, one breath away from the monad call.
Make it a habit.
Sincerely, guys, for all those who, tuned in with me through the video, I sincerely love and I appreciate you. All the new subscribers, I love and I appreciate you. Sincerely. But this is exactly what we're going to continue to do. We're going to continue to shift this paradigm, this whole reality, into a more peaceful and prosperous world for each and every one of us. Sincerely, that's what it's about. As always, abundance and a gratitude to all. Peace and love to all. I love you all. Have a beautiful day.